Bhagavate Vas- Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining us today. So we continue with the Bhakti Gyan or Sanatan Dharma course. Today's 21st session, and wanted to talk about values and culture of Sanatan Dharma. I think this is probably one of the most important areas to look at. And I was just saying earlier that how it would have been so nice if this had been taught to us at a very early age, because these values are so important in our system, value system. To imbibe them at an early age is so fundamentally important. So for those of you who are young, and I still consider myself very young, actually never too late to learn. But definitely imbibing these values will help us become closer to the Lord and actually live like human beings. So what distinguishes us from the animals are these values and the culture. Otherwise, what the animals do, we will do. They eat, they sleep, they mate, and defend. If we don't have any values, then that's all we'll be doing. We're no different from the animals. And if we don't have values, we will be just regarded as two-legged animals. This is one of the quotes in the Bhagavatam. And this is the word they use, Dvipad Pashu. Pashu means animal. Pad means legs. Du means two. Two-legged animal. We only be considered as two-legged animals. No better than two-legged animals. If we didn't have any values. And this is actually this is the Srimad Bhagavatam, not Bhagavad Gita, 6th canto, 16th chapter, 38th verse. There's a couple of verses in the scriptures which also talk about this. And this is from the Hitopadesh. Both animals and humans share the activities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But the special property of the humans is that they are able to be able to engage in spiritual life. Therefore, without spiritual life, humans are on the level of animals. I would even say we are below the animals. The reason being, there is research done which shows that if a particular animal becomes extinct, then the world loses something in context of its environment. But if human beings become extinct, the world will not lose anything, it benefits. So the purpose of our existence isn't necessarily to help the environment, it's a higher purpose, it's a spiritual purpose. So if we don't engage in some sort of spiritual activity in our human life, then we've missed the point of human life. And then this is a verse again in the Srimad Bhagavatam, SB 599. Degraded men are actually no better than animals. The only difference is that animals have 4 legs and such men, degraded men, have only 2. They are two-legged animalistic men. So very similar context to what I was saying earlier. Values equate to moral codes, common sense based around Dharma, and these values apply universally to humans. And to focus on values and culture encouraged by Sanatana Dharma, it'll uplift our consciousness to a spiritual level. This is very, very powerful, very simple, but very powerful. Now, we can connect the values to the 4 pillars of Dharma. What are these 4 pillars? Right? Mercy. These are, again, we haven't made these up. This is according to the scriptures. Mercy equates to non-violence. Truthfulness equates to gambling, no gambling. Cleanliness equates to no illicit relations with the opposite sex, or even doesn't have to be opposite sex nowadays. Austerity equates to no intoxication. So we'll go into detail of each and every one of these. But in the Gita, it explains, because some people think, oh, you're controlling yourself, you're restricting yourself, you're actually putting yourself in some sort of prison by restricting yourself by rules and regulations, and you can't be yourself. Well, what does the Gita say? Krishna says, one who can control his senses by practicing the regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord and thus become free from all attachment and aversion. By controlling ourselves, by having values, we actually going to be practicing the regulative principles of freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from Maya, freedom from samsara in this world, the birth, death cycle that we are caught in. What sort of freedom have we got at the moment? None, actually speaking. We might think we have some freedom to do something, but we're caught in this samsara. We will die one day. We have no control over that whatsoever. Who knows when? We don't know. So by practicing these principles, these values, establishing this value system within our life will give us the freedom that we want to get the complete mercy of the Lord. So what is this first pillar? Let's go into it in a little more detail. Mercy, which means non-violence. Now, this is a quotation from our scriptures. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa is the topmost param religion. It's a common quote. Non-violence is the first principle. Non-violence in our actions. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that. In the 17th chapter, our actions should not cause others grief. Of course, not in the context of the Mahabharata or the war that took place, but in normal circumstances. Non-violence through our words. Words can really hurt sometimes. Sometimes it's said even in the scriptures, it says that sometimes the arrow shot into somebody is not as bad as the anger of words that are spoken to others. The anger of words can last for a very long time. The injury from an arrow can be cured, but the injuries that are caused by harsh words cannot be cured sometimes. And goes beyond actions and words. Non-violence also goes into our thoughts. It's said that whatever we're thinking ultimately will turn into words and action. So if we control our thoughts and have non-violent or peaceful thoughts, then that will flow into our words and into our actions as well. So one of the, if you like, a prerequisite is to have a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, maybe. Vegetarian means that we don't eat animals. We don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. We don't cause any harm to any living entity for the sake of our belly. That's if we're eating just for the sake to satisfy our tongues, and we're eating dead animals. It's really not a good thing not a good place to be in. I know nowadays in our culture, because we are in the West, some people profess or claim that we should have a meat-eating diet. But actually, it's not true, because we're not losing anything by becoming or being vegetarian or even vegan, in fact. And if there is any loss, there are supplements. Better to take the supplements rather than to put dead bodies into our bellies. Of course, plants also have life. Yeah, plants also have life. There's no denying that. So isn't it a sin to kill plants? Well, actually, Krishna gives us permission to eat plants. That's our standard diet. Because if you look at our physiology, compared to like a herbivorous animal, our physiology is very much like a herbivorous animal, rather than a carnivorous animal. And I'll give you one example. The intestines of the carnivorous animal is very short, whereas the intestines of the herbivorous animal is very long. So in our case, our intestines are very long. So the food will take time to go through, and meat decays very fast. So in the carnivorous animal, the food goes through quickly through their intestines because meat decays fast. So that's just one example. There's lots of examples how physiology is geared towards a vegetarian diet. But of course, Krishna also explains that if we don't offer our food to God before honoring eating that food, we're only eating sin, even if it's vegetables. So even if we have a vegetarian diet, we must try to, whatever we cook, whatever we're going to eat, before we do it, we eat it, we offer it to God. And it's a very simple procedure to offer it to God. Within 3 seconds, you can change something which is sinful into something which is blessed food. We call it prasad. All you have to do is think of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, and say, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Even if you buy something from outside, before eating it, just think of the Lord and offer it to him. It's not the ideal way. The best is you cook something yourself from scratch for the Lord, thinking of the Lord in love, and you put it in a special plate and you take it before your altar and offer it to the Lord, praying that, please, my dear Lord, I've cooked this with my love for you. Please accept this. Please eat this food. That is the best. That's first class. But if there's circumstances where you can't do that, then still one can offer mentally to the Lord. It becomes prasad. So this is the first pillar. Second pillar is mercy. Truthfulness, which is effectively no gambling. Now, satya is a universal value, truthfulness. It's also the last leg standing for Dharma in Kali Yuga, supposedly. And Bhagavad Gita also discusses, just check what that verse is, actually, I've forgotten, 17, 15. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. So Krishna recommends that. Gambling is discouraged. And why is gambling a threat to truthfulness? Because gambling generally leads to lies. The example is perhaps Yudhishthir, how he got trapped into this cycle of gambling. As a Kshatriya, he had to accept a challenge. The challenge was, let's gamble. Let's have a game of dice. He had to accept because he was a warrior. But he gambled to such an extent, he lost his brothers, he lost himself, he lost his wife. So this is what gambling does. Gambling can destroy one's life. Of course, ultimately, Krishna is the absolute truth. He is the ultimate absolute truth. And there's an example of how Krishna, as the absolute truth, encouraged Yudhishthira to tell a lie. How is that even possible? How can the absolute truth encourage somebody to tell a lie? But there was this one incident in the Mahabharata, in the battle, when they were trying to defeat Dronacharya, who was so strong. And Krishna said to Yudhishthira, you have to lie. You have to say to Dronacharya that his son Ashwatthama is dead. This is the only way you're going to defeat Dronacharya. If you say that, then Dronacharya will give up and you can defeat him. And Yudhishthira said, no. Yudhishthira was Dharmaraj. He said, no, I won't tell a lie. Now, very interesting dilemma. Krishna is the absolute supreme personality of God, the absolute truth. Can he lie? Can he steal? No, he can't. So Yudhishthira, by disobeying the order of Krishna, actually his chariot came down 6 inches. Some people argue it's the other way around, because later on, what happened was they killed an elephant called Ashwatthama. So then everybody was shouting, Ashwatthama is dead. And then Dronacharya came to Yudhishthira because he only trusted Yudhishthira. Is it true? My son Ashwatthama is dead. And Yudhishthira said, yes, he's dead. Ashwatthama is dead. And then there was a big uproar. And under his breath, Yudhishthira said, the elephant Ashwatthama is dead. So in this way, he upheld the mode of truthfulness that he had. But of course, by disobeying the absolute truth, his chariot came down 6 inches. It was always 6 inches above the ground because he is Dharmaraj. Anyway, so truthfulness, second pillar. So this is all about values. We talk about values. So imbibing truthfulness into our life is very important. Imbibing non-violence into our life is very important. These are great values to have. Cleanliness, no illicit relationships. Cleanliness is also purity. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's a very common saying. And we should have a daily routine, purity of body. Every morning we have a shower. Nowadays, sometimes there is a culture where perhaps people don't shower or they shower at night. Actually, the shower should take place in the morning. And the shower should be every day, maybe not just once. In fact, in Vedic culture, every time you pass stool, number 2 we call it, every time you go number 2, you should have a shower. Right? That's purity of the body. Very important to maintain the purity of the body. Because if you maintain the purity of the body, then the mind also follows suit, or it can follow suit. So this is, why do we shower in the morning? Because cleanliness is very important. Before we eat, before we do puja, we should be clean. So purity also means no boyfriend, no girlfriend. And I know a lot of us are past that stage, but some of us are not. Some of us are very young. Some of you are very young, and that's really, really good. You're very, very fortunate. So try to not have any connections with the opposite sex before marriage. In this Western culture, that's quite challenging. I do understand, but this is the Vedic tradition. This is purity. This is how a human being lives, a sane or a civilized human being lives. Nowadays, I know the norm is, you can have multiple partners, etc., but actually that's something that's completely goes against the grain of Sanatan Dharma. I know some of the kings in the past, even some of the sages had many wives, for example, but there was always, that wasn't necessarily out of illicit relationships. Okay. Bhagavad Gita 7:11. Let's have a quick look at Bhagavad Gita 7:11. Sacrifice that is performed according to scriptural injunctions without expectation of reward, with firm faith, with firm conviction of the mind. That is a matter of duty, is a nature of mode of goodness. So Krishna is saying that our whatever we do, we try to do it without any expectation of reward. We do our sacrifice with full conviction of mind. So this purity is a sacrifice, because especially in this West, there's no concept of purity. So, and the example is set by Lakshman actually. When he was here with his brother Ram, and they went to the forest, and Sita was kidnapped, and they found the jewelry, that the earrings and the ankle bells that were Sita's, and Ram asked Lakshman, "This is Sita's earring," and Lakshman said, "I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know? I've never looked at her face." He was so loyal to his brother. He was so chaste. "I've never looked at her face, but I recognize the ankle bells. I always looked at her feet, her lotus feet." So this is really one of the most amazing things about Ramayana. Ramayana is all about culture and value. Because Lord Ramchandra came as the ideal human being. He behaved as the ideal husband, ideal father, ideal king, ideal son, like that. Purity of mind. Now, approximately 60,000 thoughts go through our head every day. Every single day. And these two verses are interesting because Krishna explains the position of the mind. If the mind is favorable, is under our control, then he's our friend. If mind is not under our control, then he's our enemy. So all these thoughts are going through our heads. And I suspect the vast majority of them are going to be negative thoughts or impure thoughts. And the idea is to convert those negative thoughts, especially, into positive thoughts. So when you see a thought coming into your mind which is negative, convert it into a positive thought. Turn it from a negative thought to a positive thought. And this takes practice. This takes time. Because all of our life, we're conditioned in a certain way. To change it now suddenly will take time. But bear this in mind. So many thoughts. And watch the mind. Watch the mind. You'll see the mind come up with so many. This person is like that. This food is not very nice. You know, constantly there will be these negative thoughts. Convert them into positive. Cultivate seeing positive qualities in others. There's an example of Yudhishthira and Dronacharya. Duryodhana, yeah, thank you. Dronacharya asked Yudhishthira, no, he asked Duryodhana first, go to the kingdom and find somebody who's, was it worse than you? More qualified than you. Yeah, better than you. Duryodhana came back and he said, and Dronacharya asked him, did you find anybody? He said, no, I looked everywhere. I can't find anybody better than me. I'm the best. And he asked the same sort of question to Yudhishthira. Go into the kingdom and find somebody a little bit different. He asked, find somebody worse than you. And Yudhishthira said, when he came back to Dronacharya, he said, I've looked everywhere. I can't find anybody who's worse than I, who's worse than I am. I am the worst. See the concept? That's not just self-defeating. It's not negative in the, it's not negative in a depreciating way. It's just in a humble way. Yudhishthira was Dharamraj. He was the greatest of the great. He was greater than anybody. Yet he felt himself so humble that he always looked upon others in a positive light. He's better than I am. So this is a nice thing to do. This person is far better than I am. Right?
You will see the good qualities rather than the bad qualities.
And actually, there's only two personalities who can really do this. There's Krishna. We've got so many bad qualities. We do one little thing for Krishna and he'll magnify that. And the Guru. Our Guru was like that. We did a little bit of seva for him and he would say, Shabash, beta. You know, well done. It was just bring a glass of water for him and he would say, Shabash, very good. Always saw the good side of people. So we try to imbibe that, try to see positivity in everything and everyone. We should never forget, God loves us more than we can ever imagine. He will never do anything to us which is against us. So even if something negative happens to us, we should understand that God's hand is behind it. It's meant to be something, it'll be for my better, it's for my betterment. Ultimately, it may seem negative at the moment, but it's for my own good. So that's a really positive mentality. That way you will never go low, you'll never fall depressed. You'll never feel inferior because you know you're looked after by the Lord, even if something negative happens. No one can defeat you. No one can defeat you if you have that mood. Nothing can possibly harm you if you have that mood. This is a huge value to imbibe into our life. And austerity means no intoxications. Now, there's 3 kinds of happiness, if devotees remember. In Bhagavad Gita, it explains that that happiness which is very nice in the beginning will turn into poison. For example, eating gulab jamuns, right? If you eat 1, great. 2, 3, it becomes a little hard. Eat 4, 5 gulab jamun, and you think, nah, no more. Oh, this is poison. But that happiness, which in the beginning is a little hard, but in the end turns into nectar, that's in the mode of goodness. So like that is meditation, for example, chanting Hare Krishna. In the beginning, it's really hard, but eventually you get into it and you think, wow, this is nectar. And then there's a 3rd kind of happiness, which is poison in the beginning, poison in the end. Like when a drunkard, for example. No alcohol, that's intoxication, that's the basic. No drugs. Even try to avoid caffeine because it's addictive. And we should not be addicted to anything. Even caffeine is addictive. Coffee. Some people can't live without coffee. They get a headache. Tea. If I don't have my morning cup of tea, I get a headache. No, we don't want to be addicted to anything. That way we can live anywhere. And avoid wasting time on television or games, internet games, phone games, so many ways. If we want to waste time, Krishna will give us 101 ways to waste time. But we don't want to waste any time. So, it's half past. So we just conclude now. Always be positive, be steady. Remember, Krishna's interest is yours, right? He loves us more than we can ever imagine. He loves us more than we will ever be able to love him. Bear in mind, prayer and worship of the Lord, very, very important. Have a giving attitude rather than a taking attitude. This is such an important value and culture to imbibe. If we're always having a taking attitude, we're always going to be unhappy.
Expectations.
Yeah, because our expectations will never be met. If somebody gives us something, we'll expect something more next time. But if we have a giving attitude, we'll always be happy. Nobody can stop you giving, right? If you're expecting somebody to love you and they don't, you're going to be disappointed. But if you love somebody without wanting anything in back, you're always going to be happy because you're always going to be in a giving mood. If you want to give in charity, nobody can stop you from giving. But if you're in a taking mood, you always get disappointed because our greed is so great that we are never satisfied. But if we're always in a giving mood, I want to do something for you, then we'll always be happy, never be frustrated. So this is so powerful, so powerful. That's why the great sages, they're always happy. They want to give. They want to share the Lord with everybody. They never are unhappy. Be respectful. So there's 4 principles. Matri Deva Bhava. Be always respectful to your mother. Matri means mother. Deva, like the demigod. Bhava, respect, treat. Her relationship should be like that. Pitri Deva. So first comes mother. Second comes father. Pitri Deva Bhava. Acharya Deva Bhava. Your teachers, your guru, your those you're learning from. And Atithi Deva Bhava. Everybody else. Atithi actually means your guests who have not been invited, but actually we can extend it further to everybody. 7 kinds of mothers. We'll go through that next Sunday. Caring for parents and grandparents. Very important in our culture to do this. Okay, very, very quickly. Humility, other values, qualities to it. Never boast just because one is clever, one is talented. That talent has come from God. It belongs to God. We're just taking care of it for a little while. So always be humble. Be polite. Appreciate others by sincere praise. Try to control anger. Always learn. In that way, one improves one's consciousness. It's never too late to learn. And finally, failure is a pillar of success. I can't tell you how many failures. I'm still having them. But I always pick myself off the ground, brush off all the dust and carry on. Failure is inevitable in this world, but it's a pillar of success. Failure should be seen as a lesson to be learned. So let's stop there. Let's take some questions. And be grateful, yeah. What Jayanti just mentioned, be grateful, very important. Gratitude is very important. Thank you, yeah. I'll add that in. Thank you. Okay, questions. Ishwari.
Today we only have one question.
No way. What happened?
I was just focusing on listening this time.
Okay.
Can you not even be friends with the opposite gender?
No, you can. You can. It's just going beyond friendship can lead to a lot of problems. You can definitely be friends. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, that's not the issue. It's just when it goes beyond friendship and it becomes physical, then it becomes it becomes very difficult, very, very tough. So any physical relations are saved for after marriage.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't think that far. Friends is fine.
Absolutely.
Friends is fine until we reach about 30.
Babaji, I have a question.
Yes, Pari.
So it's to do with this as well. But so friends is fine, but when it comes to like marriage and things like this, how do we kind of I don't know how to say it. How do we look for someone that we think is suitable for us if we don't know them beforehand? Because obviously arranged marriages and things like that, they like even Radha and Krishna, they were at like a young age when it wasn't obviously a physical relationship. They genuinely loved each other, which is hard to find in Kali Yuga, but they knew each other, like they knew about each other. So how do we save ourselves from like that arranged marriage stuff where our parents are choosing and then we don't like get along with the person?
Actually, I think statistically, it's been shown that arranged marriages work much better than love marriages. And arranged marriages perhaps are looked upon as being sort of medieval. But what happened with myself and Jayanti, for example, I knew her from before, not very well. We were in the same sort of Gujarati classes, but she was at a higher level than I was, she was, all the girls were in the higher set, all the boys were in the lower set, and I was the head of the boys, she was the head of the girls, and we would constantly be fighting because we would have like
debating.
we would have debates, between the classes, and
Yeah.
we would do dramas, and I always used to think, what an arrogant woman. Only because she was a lot smarter, and she still is, and unfortunately, she's a lot smarter than I am. Nothing's changed over the years. But then what happened was my father and mother introduced us. Her father and mother, my father and mother introduced us. I thought, oh, yeah, I recognize this woman. After years of hurt. But we got to know each other a little bit. We just went out for a couple of times and realized, okay, yeah, you know what? It's sort of arranged, but it was at the same time
left up to us to decide.
Yeah.
Whether we thought we were suitable and wanted to get married to each other.
I see.
So that worked well. So
yeah, I think a lot of in our generation anyway, a lot of marriages happen like that. Someone would like friends would of the family would introduce you, and then you meet that person, and that, especially in this country, it doesn't really happen that the parents arrange it. You don't see the bride or the groom until the wedding day.
That's very rare now.
Yeah. Probably even in Bharat, in the only cities it doesn't happen. Maybe in the villages it still happens, but yeah. But I mean, if you look at arranged marriages in previous era, what it was is the families would look at your horoscopes and just make sure you're compatible before thinking about moving forward, and also you get married to that person, and then you get to know that person, and it was said that love grows from that. It wasn't the other way around, that you love that person then you start hating that person. It was it was like love would grow as you progress in your married life.
So like Prabhuji, my parents, for example, they studied together, and they also basically had like a friendly relationship, and there was nothing like illicit, but they still kind of like knew each other, like they had love for each other. And then it happened basically that they wanted to get married, so they had a love marriage, and their families didn't agree,
right?
And it basically, like from my mom's family mostly, they brought in like pundits, and they gave like wrong horoscopes, and they're like, oh, if you guys get married, then like someone's gonna die 2 years later, but like everything's well, like I don't know, I don't understand like why they would. And it was basically kind of like a lie. So their families basically hate each other for no reason, but my parents are fine. Yeah, it wasn't illicit in a way, but it was a love marriage.
Understood.
But again, you see, they knew each other as well for many years, and they probably worked out that they would be compatible with each other, even though they hadn't looked at the horoscopes. So that's another way as well. When you're studying together or you're working together, you get to know that person a bit more than you would normally.
So up until marriage, friendship is fine, right? It doesn't doesn't be illicit. It can just be friends, and then you get to know the person, and then you marry them. That's fine.
Yeah. I think going back to your question, how do you meet somebody? There's different ways. One is this arranged way. Another is, as you said, remain friends with others, others, and then in time you will be able to find hopefully a suitable person compatible with yourself. Another is, I would say, especially because if you have like taken this devotional path, then ideally you want to have somebody who also has some interest in
A
devotion.
devotional partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think nowadays, within the temples, I know I'm thinking about it in our center when we open it, to have some sort of,
Like a
facility
meet and
available.
greet.
Sorry?
Like a meet and greet.
Meeting, yeah, some sort of facility available so that it can put people who are like-minded together.
Yeah, like this, like the famous shadi.com, that's a
Yeah.
website to meet people, but again, it would be just like devotees, or children from devotee family who are following the same sort of paths.
Yeah. Just giving that opportunity for people to meet if they want to, of course, at the end of the day.
That is a good idea.
Yeah. So, but it's a tough question, because there's so many, factors that you have to take into account.
Especially nowadays, before, the girls would be confined, to certain level of education only. They won't be going out to other cities to study and things like that, it'd be local. So they were quite sheltered as well and protected as well. But now, there's so many temptations out there. It is very, very difficult for the future generations, really, to find the right partners.
Yes, I think that's a really good point. Avoid the temptations. Avoid the, the illicit nature of relationships. That's
Prabhuji, obviously like we're not in a place to compare with the Supreme Lord, but with Radha and Krishna's relationship, like how was that? Like they just like I don't know. They obviously we know they're the eternal consorts of each other, but how did that work?
Yeah, you see, Sitaram, it was one wife, he made a vow, one wife. But as Krishna, he broke all the rules. And he broke them for the sake of the devotees, for the pleasure of the devotee. He himself doesn't need anything, he's self-satisfied. But the 16,000 sages came to him as Ram and said, we want to have conjugal relationship with you. And Ram said, well, I took a vow of one wife, sorry. But as Krishna, I'll fulfill your desire. This is Krishna is willing to have a bad reputation just for the sake of his devotees.
Basically, he likes to be friends with everyone. Doesn't matter who they are, the opposite sex, whoever. But but he likes teasing them and things like that. It's more that sort of relationship. They always are teasing each other and playing games and on each other and things like that. It's more of that sort of a relationship. If we look at the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, even like the gopis, they arrange something, but Radha and Krishna could be together on a swing and things like that. So they could just be in each other's company, basically. But that was it, really.
Jayanti's had a very sheltered life. They get up to all sorts.
No.
Krishna's terrible. He's swinging this thing, and he'll make it go all the way around.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He likes teasing. He likes teasing.
Grab him, and he'll be thinking, "Yes, got her." Finally, she's grabbing me. I'm usually grabbing her.
I actually heard this. I think my mom told me this. There was a joke that she read somewhere, where there was someone asking, if someone of a different religion, I believe, and they said, well, Krishna has so many wives, why can't we have so many wives? And then someone below comments, and they were like, well, Krishna lifted the whole of Govardhan mountain. Why don't you try that, and then you can you can do what he does after that. But
yeah, that's good. That's a really good answer, actually. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
But thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking. I don't know if we completely answered, but anyway, maybe once.
It makes sense. You cleared the doubts, basically. Okay. Oh, and Ishwari and Kishori posted the quiz.
Oh, good.
Yes, they
thank
have.
You.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank them for taking on the quiz, because the subject last week was quite a challenging one. And I know they spent hours on this quiz. because I skipped so many slides and they were trying to make sure that questions were not overly difficult. So I'm really impressed by their conscientious behavior and attitude. Amazing, actually. Yeah. So everybody can join quiz.com. And Ishwari, if you like, you can share your screen. And the PIN number is 829206.
Oh, the shell.
So quite a few have joined. Are we waiting for anybody?
I'll just take 1 minute, sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. Take your time. Anybody else? Any questions? Varsha, Lokeshwar, Smita, Priya, Krishan, Ria, Nikhilesh, Akasha. Akasha, no questions from you? Harish.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Priti.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so it was regarding cleanliness.
Mm.
You know, like, is that written in the scriptures regarding this is okay, so like in the old school days, there wasn't a lot of hygiene kind of facilities as there are now, right? So you know, certain rules that were there make sense, but like so my one is regarding the stool passing. Like
Number 2. Yeah.
you know, yeah, number 2 or even number 1, it's like yeah, why is it that yeah, that's there, like after that you have to have a shower? Yeah,
I haven't seen it in the scriptures, but Guru Maharaj was very
And Prabhupada as well.
clear, and Prabhupada was clear on this. If you're on the altar, then definitely, even after number 1, especially if you're worshipping Radha Krishna, it's supposed to be showering. But number 2, it's as if you eat after number 2, it's as if you're eating rubbish, you know, stool, basically, which is what.
Sorry, it's just like you know, like I always believe that there's really good science behind like the rules and regulations. So I'm trying to get to the science of it, like the
Right.
yeah.
Why?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, why?
I suppose because
yeah,
because in the olden days, you know, you used to use water to clean afterwards. Okay.
Sure.
And you know, your hand would be dirty.
Yeah.
So that is that is what I think is the reason why you need to have a shower.
Yeah. That's good. Very good point.
But that's what I'm just trying to say is like right now it's like it's not needed, you know.
I would say it's still needed because, you know, okay, you might not be using water, you might be using paper, but you're still unclean, yeah, because you've still touched the area, you know.
It's just because, you know, like it's the hands that are okay, no, like a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of cultures, they'll use water and then, you know, you've got soap to wash your hands and stuff. So that's what I'm trying to
I understand.
You know, and it's like people stay in the again after somebody's passed away or you've gone to their funeral, you should have a shower before touching others. And again, that would have made sense like back in the old school days where the body is not on ice or something like that and it's decomposing and it's got lots of you know, stuff on there which isn't good to be contaminated with. But again, it's different these days. Yeah,
it's different, but the consciousness is still needs to be purified. I think if you get yourself into that consciousness where after number 2 you shower, it just improves the purity of the mind, for sure. And that's why it was recommended. One thing in the scriptures is that Brahmins should bathe 3 times a day, because generally, well, sometimes anyway, 3 times a day is when you go. So every time you go, you shower. So,
and also because you're supposed to clean yourself inside and outside, and you can't really chant those mantras if you haven't had a shower really. Usually you're having a shower, that's when you're chanting the mantras for Ganga Mai and Yamuna Mai to purify you as well.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, thanks.
Sorry, we don't have exact answers.
No.
Yeah.
No, but everything you're saying helps, and it just makes me want to, like, I don't know, read further. But you mentioned about the Ganga Ma chanting when you're to purify yourself. Makes sense. Yeah.
Because it's that mantra you say, Om Pavitra Pavitra Va Sarvavasta Gato Biva Yasmari Pundrikaksham Yasmari Abhayanta Suchi Jal Vishnu Jal Vishnu Jal Vishnu. That's one of the mantras as well that you chant and things like that.
And there may be a situation where physically you can't have a shower with water. So you do a mental shower with that mantra, basically. So sometimes you're traveling, you can't shower, so you wouldn't be able to do a mental shower. But a very
physical shower.
Very exceptional circumstances.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for asking. Okay, sorry, Aishwari Kishori. Thank you. Go for it.
Sure, Prabhuji. True or false, there are many names given to Krishna's abode.
Excellent. Yeah.
And the answer was true.
Good. Good.
The word Golok means highest planet, planet of the cows, planet of the buffaloes, all of the above. The correct answer is planet of the cows.
Yeah. Nabi said it should be planet of the apes.
Oh.
What names are given to Krishna's abode? Golok, Gokul, Krishnalok, Swargadvipa, all of the above. And the correct answer was all of the above. True or false? When Lord Krishna descends to the material world, Golok also descends with him. And the correct answer is true. The associates of Radha are called gopis, and their assistants are called shamas, raghus, manjaris, dharmas. And the correct answer was manjaris.
I love your alternatives.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Krishnalok has 3 divisions: Dwarka, Mathura, and you have to type in this one.
What was the answer?
I think it was Gokul or Golok.
Yeah, even Vrindavan is correct.
Ayodhya is located There was in the core of the earth, between Golok and Vaikunt, near the sadhus.
Very good.
And the correct answer was between Golok and Vaikunt. True or false? In the material world, no one knows who is God.
Yeah.
And the correct answer was
True. We didn't cover that slide, but good.
True or false? The Lord's glances towards Ram Devi turned her shadow into Maya.
Everybody got it right. Brilliant.
In the Lord's body resides trillions of who were in the material world previously with unlimited desires. You have to type this one in.
Good.
The correct answer was souls or jivas.
Good.
Lord Shiva's planet is half in the spiritual world and half in the ocean, the material world, Lord Shiva's hair, all of the above. The correct answer was the material world. True or false? Yantra is a lotus. And the correct answer was true. The Sakhi's affection for Radha and Krishna is so pure that they are simply satisfied when they are united, flowers bloom, the earth ends, all of the above. The correct answer is when they are united.
Well done. Very good. Okay, let's see the scoreboard.
In third, we have Varsha. Second, we have Krishiv. And first, we have Pari.
Whoa, okay.
Congratulations.
Well done, Pari.
Thank you, Shori. It was a really good quiz.
Yeah.
I actually forgot how scary it was to actually be doing the quiz. I was so used to making them. That was so like anxiety provoking.
That was the toughest quiz though, and they did very well, huh, Pari?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, well done, Pari. And well done, Ishwari Kishori.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Great effort, great effort. Thank you so much. Huh? So we shall see everybody next week. Thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Bye.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare